Chapter 1. I died unexpectedly during childbirth, only to wake up and find myself reborn 15 years into the future. But on the very first day back, I discovered that the precious daughter I had traded my life for was being bullied by my so-called husband's beloved white moonlight and her daughter. As for my husband, he had transformed into a revered figure in the elite circles of Beijing, living among incense and chanting, completely detached from worldly affairs. So, I grabbed his hair, slapped him 3 times, and coldly said, "Is this how you honor my memory?" Struggling to open my eyes, I found myself standing next to the high school I once attended. There were a few scattered pedestrians on the road, and some threw puzzled glances at me when they noticed my dazed state. 10 minutes later, I tilted my head back to look at the sky and had to accept the hard truth. Not only had I been reborn, I had also traveled 15 years into the future. After some thought, I borrowed a phone from a passerby and called my husband Joel, the man who had been my husband before I died. After a few rings, the call connected. "Hello, what do you want?" That familiar voice came from the other end, still as pleasant as ever, but now carrying more depth and maturity. My nose stung, and unable to hold back my emotions, I spoke through a choked sob. "Joel, it's me, Selena. I know it sounds crazy, but I think I've traveled through time. Anyway, I'm near our old high school. Could you come pick me up?" There was a long silence on the other end. Just as I was about to say something to ease the awkwardness, the man suddenly let out a mocking laugh. His voice was tinged with sarcasm. "I don't know who gave you my number, but tell whoever's behind this little stunt to come up with a better trick next time." Mimicking a voice and daring to call me, how disgusting. "Have you no shame?" Joel's harsh words stunned me for a second. Then fury exploded within me, and I snapped back without caring about appearances anymore. "Joel, are you serious right now? You can't even recognize your own wife's voice? 15 years and you've lived for nothing." He fell silent. I pressed on, my voice filled with rage. "I don't care where you are or what you're doing. I'm telling you right now, if you're not here within half an hour, go ahead and get ready to die." Without waiting for his response, I hung up and handed the phone back to the stunned woman beside me. She took it hesitantly, then asked, Were you trying to reach Joel, that rich guy?" "Sorry, your call was on speaker," and the voice sounded kind of familiar. I paused, then nodded cautiously. "You know him?" Relieved, she waved her hand and said, "Who in Rome City doesn't know that crown prince?" She gave me a curious look, as if she knew Joel personally. I figured I must have been lucky to run into someone who knew Joel. Sensing my curiosity, she eagerly spilled the gossip. After his wife died in childbirth, she left behind a daughter. Everyone thought he would remarry soon, especially after his beloved first love made such a grand return to China. But instead, he expanded his business empire and then shocked everyone by announcing he was becoming a monk. No one knows exactly where he is now. He only shows up occasionally at company annual events. But what?" I asked. The passerby hesitated, then continued. "Well, it's more like a niche rumor, but people say he's about to marry his first love. Everyone's wondering if he'll renounce his monkhood for her, especially since his first love, Eva, is now a top movie star. Honestly, what man could resist her?" I raised an eyebrow and sneered. "Looks like I came all this way just in time to attend Joel's wedding." The woman noticed the change in my expression and realized she might have said too much. She quickly tucked away her phone and hurried off. I hadn't expected to be hit with 2 shocks the moment I arrived. My chest tightened with anger, and a wave of sadness crashed over me. If Joel truly loved his first love, I wouldn't cling to him. After all, I had no right to expect him to stay loyal for 15 years. But I hadn't even met my daughter yet. I had no idea how she was doing now. Chapter 2. Based on what I knew about Joel, I figured he would have sent our daughter to her old alma mater. After getting out of the taxi, the familiar school gate came into view. Suddenly, I heard a commotion nearby. Looking up, I saw a group of teenagers with bleached yellow hair teasing and shoving a short-haired girl outside the school gate. It was clear bullying. I frowned. This was supposed to be the best elite private school in the city. How could something like this happen here? For some reason, that short-haired girl looked familiar. Without thinking, I followed them quietly. They led her into a hidden alley. The leader, A long-haired girl with a sweet-looking face suddenly did something shocking. She viciously kicked the short-haired girl in the waist, sending her collapsing to the ground with a cry of pain. The long-haired girl smirked and taunted. "I heard your uncle gave you a huge birthday gift. Why don't you show everyone?" "Huh?" The short-haired girl clutched her backpack tightly and trembled. "I can't." Another cruel kick landed on her side. The long-haired girl's face twisted with a malice far beyond her years. She even spat on the short-haired girl and growled. "Jessica, don't be so ungrateful." The moment I heard the name, my heart twisted sharply. Jessica, that was the name Joel and I had chosen when I was pregnant. We had agreed early on, Jessica. I snapped my gaze to the girl on the ground. Despite the heavy bangs covering her face, her bright, determined eyes shone through. That face, so familiar, a mirror of my own. Who else could she be but my daughter? Just then, the long-haired girl barked orders to the others. "Snatch her backpack, then strip her clothes off. Let's teach her a lesson she won't forget. See if she dares to disobey me again." I narrowed my eyes. The last shred of rationality inside me was instantly burned away by rage. I was itching to tear these little monsters to pieces. "Good job, Joel. So this is the life my daughter has been living every day, huh?" Without thinking, I grabbed a wooden stick from beside a trash can, stormed forward, shoved the crowd aside, and placed myself firmly in front of Jessica. The long-haired girl flinched when she got a good look at me, but then, like a cornered animal, she shouted hysterically, "What's it got to do with you if I bully her? Mind your own business, or I'll beat you up too." "Cut the crap," I said coldly. "None of you are getting away today. These punk kids?" When I was rescuing Joel from real kidnappers years ago, these brats hadn't even been born yet. I casually stretched my muscles a little. Thank God I was still in my 20s physically, otherwise, I might have had a harder time. Within minutes, the group of yellow-haired punks were lying on the ground, groaning in pain. I stepped on the long-haired girl's face, grinding my foot down hard. Still feeling unsatisfied, I delivered 2 brutal kicks to her stomach. This was payback for the kicks she had given my daughter earlier. The girl spat out bloody foam, her body twitching uncontrollably. Completely stripped of her earlier arrogance, through broken teeth, she mumbled, my mom won't let you off the hook, and Uncle Joel won't either." "Oh," I sneered. "And who's your mom? Come on, tell me. I'd love to know which trashy woman raised such a trashy daughter." Behind me, Jessica, who had been trembling all along, finally gathered enough courage to speak. In a tiny, nervous voice, she tugged at my clothes and said, "Sister, you should leave. If her mom finds out, you'll be in danger." Her mom is Eva. Chapter 3. Hearing that familiar name again made my heart sink. I could already guess why my daughter had ended up like this. Heart aching, I pulled Jessica tightly into my arms, gently stroking her soft hair as I whispered, "Don't be scared, baby. Mommy's here to protect you." Jessica's eyes widened slightly. In a small voice, she said, "Mommy, are you really Mommy?" A bond between mother and daughter often doesn't need many words, just one glance is enough. Jessica almost instantly believed that the strong, beautiful woman in front of her was truly her mother. Supporting Jessica, I helped her slowly out of the dark alley, only to run straight into an unexpected guest. "Dad, why are you here?" Jessica asked timidly. "Speak of the devil." I lifted my head and saw the man standing before me. He hadn't changed much, just a bit stronger. His aura even more mature and composed. It was as if the 15 years had left only a faint trace of dust on him. "Joel, long time no see," I said lightly. Joel's eyes instantly turned red when he saw me. He trembled as he reached out to touch my face. But the moment he made contact, he recoiled like he'd been burned, flustered and helpless. "Selena, it's really you. You're back." Feeling Jessica's hand tightening fearfully around my arm, my expression grew even colder. Joel, noticing my icy gaze, finally seemed to realize the situation around us. Behind me, the long-haired girl I had beaten half to death saw Joel as her savior. She weakly crawled toward him, begging him to save her, calling me a vicious woman who deserved to die. Joel frowned, glancing at her with clear impatience. "You again?" he said, annoyed. I cut him off coldly. What? Are you planning to avenge your precious little white moonlight by killing me? Joel's frown deepened. What white moonlight? You know better than anyone I never had one. I couldn't care less whether you did or not. Joel, you've already disappointed me enough. Without giving him another glance, I pulled Jessica along and walked forward. Joel grabbed my arm in a death grip, his eyes bloodshot, roaring. Don't leave. You're not allowed to take even one step away from me. Pa. A loud, resounding slap echoed in the air. Everything around us instantly fell silent. Even the punks who had been groaning in pain dared not make a sound. Jessica stared at me with her mouth wide open. Joel stood frozen, his face whipped to one side, staring at me in shock. I gritted my teeth and hissed. While your daughter was being bullied to hell, you didn't know, or didn't care, right? Pa. Another fierce slap sent Joel's face snapping to the other side. Tears streamed straight down his face. I continued coldly. No time to care about your daughter, but plenty of time to chase after your beloved first love, causing a scandal that the whole city knows about. Aren't you pathetic? Pa. Another loud slap rang out. I pointed at Joel's nose and said each word through gritted teeth. Joel, is this how you honor my memory? Jessica suddenly broke down into uncontrollable sobs. She clutched my arm tightly, crying so hard she could barely speak. Mommy, Daddy, I'm sorry. I won't cause trouble anymore. Mommy, please stop hitting. Don't be mad. Please. Woo-woo. Joel's tears fell faster and faster until he was outright sobbing. No one had probably ever seen him like this, the mighty crown prince of Rome City, reduced to clinging to a woman's sleeve and crying miserably. He begged. I'm sorry. Baby, please don't leave me. Watching the two of them, one big, one small, holding on to me and bawling. The little piece I had managed to recover was shattered once again into irritation. What the hell had these two been doing during the 15 years I was gone? Chapter 4. Their crying continued all the way home. Finally silenced only after I roared at them in fury, dragging Jessica upstairs. I locked Joel out of the room without hesitation. Jessica, I asked seriously. Tell me, what exactly happened during these 15 years? If it really turned out that Joel had abandoned his own daughter for his so-called first love, I wouldn't hesitate to kick him to the curb and rebuild a new life elsewhere with Jessica. Curled up in my arms, Jessica mumbled. After I turned 8, I hardly ever saw Daddy anymore. At first, I thought it was because I wasn't good enough. But later I realized, it was because I started to look more and more like you. Seeing me made Daddy so sad. I tightened my embrace around her, heart aching, and gently kissed her forehead. Jessica continued softly. Even though I rarely saw Daddy, he still sent me money regularly, and gifts too. Back then, I thought I was happy, until the year he suddenly disappeared. That's when Aunt Eva and her daughter Roxana showed up. Aunt Eva said she was sent by Daddy to take care of me. And then she and Roxana moved in. No matter what I did, I couldn't reach Daddy anymore, except for the money and gifts that still arrived. He was like he vanished from the world. Did you know where he went? I asked. Jessica shook her head and whispered. No, I didn't. He was gone for 5 years. Aunt Eva said that if I didn't listen to her, Daddy would abandon me, and you believed it. I said. Jessica didn't answer. Instead, she gave me a shy, embarrassed little smile, then brightened and said, Last month was my 15th birthday. Daddy finally came back. He didn't abandon me after all, but I was scared he might disappear again. So I didn't dare tell him I was being bullied. But today you came back too. I'm so happy. Now I really have a mommy and daddy again. I quickly wiped away my tears and kissed her forehead again, whispering, Sleep, Jessica. Mommy will never leave you again. After settling Jessica into bed, I stepped out of the room and saw Joel, head lowered, standing outside like a punished schoolboy. I had no idea how much of the conversation he had overheard. I shot him a glare and headed downstairs. Joel trailed behind me like a guilty little kid. In a low, hoarse voice, he said, I didn't know Eva and her daughter were bullying Jessica. My mom told me Eva was a distant cousin. So I thought they could keep Jessica company. After I came back last month, I realized something was wrong right away and kicked them out. I know it's too late now. But I'm begging you, hit me, scold me, whatever you want, just don't leave me again." As he spoke, his eyes reddened once more. I sat down on the couch. Joel immediately fell to his knees before me, burying his face into my palm, sobbing. "I missed you so much. So many times I wanted to die and follow you. But every time I thought about Jessica, I forced myself to survive." I sighed, stroking his hair helplessly. "I heard you even became a monk?" I asked. He wrapped his arms around my waist and buried his face in my chest, muttering unhappily. "The media exaggerates everything. I didn't become a monk. I just spent years copying scriptures in a temple. It was the only thing that kept me sane." "Jessica said you disappeared for 5 years. Where did you go?" I asked. Joel stiffened in my arms for a moment, then hugged me even tighter. I didn't rush him. I simply stayed quiet, waiting for his answer. But even after a long time, Joel still didn't say anything. He just kept shaking his head over and over, lowering my gaze. I gently wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes and said softly, "If you don't want to talk about it, fine. But Joel, look at what our daughter has become. You can't possibly think you bear no responsibility." Joel clenched his teeth and growled, "I won't let Eva get away with this." I nodded calmly and continued, "You haven't been a good father. Once everything settles down, I'm going to seriously consider taking Jessica abroad with me." At that, Joel let out another broken sob. I ignored him, stood up, and returned to my room. Joel quickly followed, still clinging to me shamelessly, refusing to let go. Rolling my eyes, I fought back the urge to kick him off the bed and muttered, "You're nearly 40, and you're still acting like a spoiled kid." Joel hugged me tighter, his hands wandering restlessly until I smacked them away. He then buried his head pitifully against my neck and murmured, "I'm scared that if I fall asleep, you'll disappear again." I sighed, gently wrapping my arms around him, soothing him the same way I had comforted Jessica earlier. "I'm not going anywhere this time." Chapter 5. Joel and I had grown up together, childhood sweethearts. We had lived in the same military compound, causing trouble together and being the terror of every bully around. We were the infamous duo in our circle, always ready to fight injustice wherever we found it. When I couldn't stand seeing a teacher bully a female student, Joel would sneak cockroaches into the teacher's water cup. When he rescued a little kid from street thugs, I would be the one to beat the thugs into the hospital. But later on, as his family became more powerful, Joel was forced to move with his parents to Rome City. On the day they left, he clung desperately to my hand, refusing to let go even when his parents scolded and beat him. In the end, while no one was looking, I kissed him on the cheek and promised that once I got into college, I would come to Rome City to find him. Only then did he finally let go, smiling foolishly, turning back 3 times with every step as he boarded the car. But before I could even take the entrance exams for Rome City's universities, news came that Joel had been kidnapped. When I watched the ransom video released by the kidnappers, I heard a tiny hidden code, something that only Joel and I knew. So, on a dark, windy night, I stole my father's prized broadsword and electric baton, went to the kidnappers' den all by myself, and rescued Joel. After the incident, my parents hugged me tightly and cried, scolding me for being too reckless. But I knew I had been fully prepared to die alongside the kidnappers if necessary. I could tell from the start that, whether Joel's parents paid the ransom or not, the kidnappers were planning to kill him. There was no time to wait. I had to save him myself. After that night, Joel's parents immediately came to my family with a formal marriage proposal. Once I graduated college, I married Joel as a matter of course. The following year, I accidentally got pregnant. Then, I died on the operating table from amniotic fluid embolism. And after that, I woke up 15 years later. My instincts had always been sharp, just like when I decided to rescue Joel alone. I had known with certainty that I would succeed, and when I closed my eyes on the operating table, I had felt deep down that it wasn't the end for me. Joel's disappearance for those 5 years, it had to be connected to my rebirth somehow. I wasn't in a rush. One day, I would find out the truth. But before I could even enjoy a full night's sleep, someone came to disturb my peace. The noise downstairs grew louder and louder. I impatiently shoved Joel, who was clinging to me like a koala, off of me. He grumbled. Who the hell is it? Tell the security guards to throw them out. I let out a cold laugh, pulled on a coat, and said, seems like your famous little white moonlight has come to settle accounts with me. Joel's eyes snapped open. He scrambled out of bed, practically crawling after me. Sure enough, just as I expected. The ones causing the commotion downstairs weren't just Eva and her daughter Roxana, but also Joel's mother, my long-estranged mother-in-law. Chapter 6. Jessica, who was used to waking up early, had unfortunately been caught by them. She was now standing there awkwardly, not knowing what to do. When she spotted me, her eyes lit up instantly, like she had seen her savior. I calmly descended the stairs, facing 3 pairs of eyes filled with hatred, and shielded Jessica behind me. Joel moved forward and blocked me protectively as well. Eva was clearly shaken by the sight, her whole body trembling as if she was on the verge of collapse. The look on her face was heartbreak and disbelief, as if someone had betrayed her, truly worthy of her Best Actress title. For a moment, even I almost believed her act. Clutching her chest, Eva sobbed dramatically. Sister, I don't know what my Roxana did to upset you, but why are you trying to destroy her? Everyone turned to look at Roxana, who stood off to the side with a bandaged head. I frowned, puzzled. Strange, she still had the strength to stand? Did I not hit her hard enough? Joel seemed to have the same thought. He looked from Roxana to me, his expression full of surprise, as if he was doubting whether my combat skills had declined. Clearing my throat, I said calmly, she bullied my daughter first. I simply returned the favor. Hardly seems unfair, don't you think? Joel nodded slowly and added, I don't think it's unfair at all. Eva's breakdown escalated. She cried bitterly. Joel, you know how I treated Jessica over these 5 years. I treated her like my own daughter. Please wake up, don't let yourself be deceived by some woman who popped out of nowhere. Joel's mother, my mother-in-law, also stepped in, lamenting. Joel, I know you've never been able to forget Selena, but the dead can't come back. Even if you find a woman who looks just like her, it won't change the fact that Selena is gone. Joel sneered coldly. So you thought it was fine to let wolves into the house? To let some woman abuse your own granddaughter? Joel's mother straightened her back. Eva grew up under my watch. I know exactly what kind of person she is. If you don't believe me, just ask Jessica yourself. After she spoke, Joel's mother shot a sharp, intimidating glare at Jessica and barked. Jessica, I can't believe you've learned to lie at such a young age. Speak up. What really happened? I gently squeezed Jessica's hand and said softly, go ahead, sweetheart. It's okay. Mommy and Daddy are here to protect you. Jessica seemed to draw courage from my words. Facing Joel's mother, she raised her voice and shouted, Grandma, I told you already, you just didn't believe me. Eva and Roxana have been bullying me for 5 years. She pulled up her pant legs and sleeves, revealing bruises and welts of all shapes and sizes crisscrossing her fair skin. Some were clearly old wounds layered with fresh ones. Joel's mother stared in stunned silence for a moment, but still stubbornly insisted. Those are obviously from you falling down. Stop trying to blame others. Joel finally exploded, shouting, enough. We're not idiots. Mom, Jessica is your own granddaughter. I trusted you to take care of her. How could you do this? Do you think this is what Selena would have wanted? Joel's mother flinched. But then, as if completely losing her mind, she screamed back. Joel, do you think I did all this for myself? You were like a ghost, not living, not dead, hiding in temples, wasting your life away. I never understood what was so great about Selena anyway. If you hadn't been rich back then, do you really think she would have risked her life to save you? Women like her are a dime a dozen. What's so bad about Eva? Huh? Jessica's going to get married off sooner or later. So what if she got hit a little? What you really need to do is hurry up and give us a grandson. Don't you get it? Joel was trembling from head to toe with rage. I pushed him aside, stepping forward to face his mother head on. I locked eyes with her and said coldly, when I rescued Joel back then, I never once thought about marrying him. It was you and your husband who swore up and down in front of me, begging me to marry him. That's why I agreed. And now you dare blame me? Let me make one thing very clear. Whether a child is a boy or a girl is not up to me. It's determined by your son. Neither I nor my daughter owe your family a damn thing. Chapter 7. Joel's mother stared hard at my face. As if she finally realized something, she looked at Joel in disbelief, tears falling from her eyes one by one. Joel, I gave everything for you. And in the end, this is how you repay me. Fine. I'll just pretend I never had a son. Then she turned to Eva with disappointment and scolded. I did so much for you. I poured endless company resources into you, hoping you would win Joel's heart. I even turned a blind eye to all the dirty things you and your daughter did to Jessica. And this is how you repay me? Useless. Joel closed his eyes. As if completely exhausted, he called over the bodyguards and instructed. Take Madam to the temple, without my permission. Don't let her out. His mother left in a daze. Eva, who had been planning to sit back and watch the chaos, immediately panicked. She grabbed Joel's pants, stammering. Joel, I've kept this family together for 5 years while you were gone. I cared for Jessica all that time too. Even if I don't have achievements, surely my hard work counts for something. Roxana was being immature. I'll make her apologize. Come here, Roxana. She yanked the weak Roxana over and pressed her down onto the ground, yelling, apologize, now. But Roxana bit her lip, refusing to yield. Instead, she screamed at Jessica. I'm not apologizing. Jessica, you deserved everything you got. Why is your dad Joel? While my dad was a wife beater, you're so ordinary and useless. You're meant to be trampled by me. So what if your mom's dead? You deserve it. I'm not apologizing. Eva slapped Roxana hard across the face. Shut up. I had enough of this ridiculous show. I turned to Jessica and asked. Jessica, tell mommy, what do you want to do? Jessica, at that moment, displayed a rare, chilling calmness. She stepped forward, looking down at Roxana. Humiliation and despair written all over her. A fleeting trace of pity crossed Jessica's eyes. I sighed inwardly. My daughter was still kind at heart, but what happened next left me stunned. Jessica calmly stepped on Roxana's shoulder and said coldly, my parents won't let you get away with this. Are you scared now? Roxana said nothing, but the trembling of her hands betrayed her. Jessica smiled faintly, carrying an air very reminiscent of Joel when he lost his mind. She spoke leisurely. You have 2 choices. Either leave now with your mother and lose everything, or stay here and be my dog. Chapter 8. What? Joel and I looked at each other, both seeing the same shock mirrored in the other's eyes. Was my sweet daughter possessed? I leaned toward Joel and threatened in a low voice. This is all your fault. If my daughter turns into some twisted little maniac, you'd better jump into the ocean tomorrow. I had expected Roxana, given her temper, to refuse no matter what, but to my surprise, Roxana stared blankly at Jessica for a long while, then slowly nodded and whispered, I'll stay. I nearly lost my balance from the shock. Eva screamed and lunged at Roxana, but Jessica swiftly kicked her away, then casually gestured for the bodyguards to pin Eva down and slap her hard across the face a few times. Satisfied, Jessica clapped her hands and waved for them to throw Eva out. Joel shuffled nervously behind me, his face pale as he muttered, no wonder, she's your daughter. Jessica lifted her head and looked at Joel and me. I felt Joel stiffen behind me, just as I was about to tell Jessica to go easy on him. She suddenly gave us a sweet, apologetic smile. Returning to her usual quiet and gentle self, she said a little shyly, sorry, I kind of lost control for a second. Then she effortlessly grabbed Roxana by the collar and said, don't worry, I won't let her stay here and be an eyesore. Dad, is that villa near the school still livable? Joel gulped and stiffly nodded. It is. I'll send you the door code later. If I remembered correctly, that villa, while not large, had a spacious underground floor that had been remodeled into a boxing gym, originally built for me. Jessica beamed, her bright smile shining under the morning sun. I stared at her for a moment, dazed, silently marveling. This child really did inherit the best genes from both Joel and me, even becoming a little psycho. She looked gorgeous doing it. Jessica sauntered off gracefully. Joel scratched his head awkwardly, then said carefully, "Actually, Jessica showed some signs of this behavior when she was little. I did consult a psychologist. But judging from now, the therapy didn't seem very effective. In the end, I thought it was fine. At least no one would bully her, so I didn't intervene anymore." I rubbed my forehead helplessly. In truth, yesterday, I had found several small knives tucked inside Jessica's backpack, though her body bore no scars. Roxana's arms were riddled with cuts, deep and shallow. I pretty much understood what had happened. Roxana had definitely messed with the wrong person, and ended up being crushed by my little tiger in disguise. Call it karma. An evil person met her match in my precious daughter. On the third day, I still hadn't managed a full night's sleep. Early that morning, the noise of social media exploding woke me up. Joel's phone rang nonstop, as if the very devil himself were calling. I kicked Joel off the bed without mercy, quietly moving divorce higher up on my to-do list. Joel, furious, answered the phone, yelling, "Is the company paying you useless idiots for nothing? What's a trending topic? Buy it down. Is the budget not enough?" Chapter 9. Opening my bleary eyes. I grabbed my phone and, just as expected, the entire internet was ablaze with #Eva's suicide, #Eva betrayed by scumbag couple, #Eva gave her heart to the wrong people, #Joel the scumbag, #Eva's daughter bullied by rich girl. Curious. I clicked in. Eva had posted a 1,000-word sob story on Weibo. Every word was an accusation against Joel, and an attack on me, the stand-in wife Joel had supposedly found to insult her. She painted herself as Joel's true love, who had overcome countless obstacles to return to his side. She claimed she took care of his child and earned money for the company, only to be betrayed, that the company bullied her daughter, and Joel replaced her with a fake woman, driving her to the brink of suicide. Her fans exploded in outrage. They dug out my photos, Jessica's photos, plastering them all over the forums and bombarding us with insults. Even Joel's company stock showed signs of slipping, rubbing my temples. I stopped Joel from ordering the trending topics to be suppressed. "Leave this to me," I said. After all, I had majored in marketing and PR in university, and had handled the company's public image for years after graduation. Without all my blood, sweat, and tears, there wouldn't be today's golden reputation. Jessica, being my daughter, did not disappoint either. Despite her personal account being swarmed by rabid fans, she remained calm. She waited until the public outrage peaked, then released photos of her hospital injury reports, and shocking images of the bruises and wounds on her body. She also posted numerous audio recordings of Roxana bullying her, and even security footage from the alley the day I protected her. Nobody knew. Jessica had secretly installed a hidden camera in that alley long ago. Chapter 10. Public opinion flipped instantly. #Poor Jessica. #How should we handle campus bullying? #Sister so cool. #Roxana school bully. At that moment, I posted a long statement too. In it, I revealed I was Selena herself. I explained that after giving birth to Jessica, I had fallen into a coma and was sent to a rehabilitation center. The public had mistakenly believed I had died. A ridiculous misunderstanding. I said I had fully recovered now and returned home, thanking everyone for their concern. I attached a new family photo of Joel, Jessica, and me. I even had the makeup artist draw faint wrinkles on me. Plus, after days of no rest, my complexion was pale and tired, barely passing for someone in her 30s. After all, it was believable for the wealthy to look well-maintained. Joel's mother also posted a statement. She admitted to her private dealings with Eva, declared she would no longer interfere in company affairs, and promised to reclaim all the resources previously lavished on Eva. Finally, Joel himself posted, sharing a photo of our hands intertwined, the wedding ring sparkling under the sun. Thus, the entire farce came to an end. Eva's lies collapsed without anyone having to force it. She soon disappeared from public view. I heard she had become the mistress of some wealthy figure and was now being hunted by the man's legal wife, forced to flee and live like a stray dog. As for Roxana, though she still attended school, she had completely quieted down. Every day after school, Jessica would drag her by the collar back to the villa. What they did inside, neither Joel nor I dared to ask. Later on, I visited the temple where Joel had often stayed. There, I met the abbot, the same monk who had presided over my funeral years ago, the one who watched my body pushed into the cremation chamber. Yet when he saw me alive, he showed no surprise. Instead, he seemed peaceful, as if everything made sense. He invited me into the tea room. I asked him. Joel disappeared for 5 years. He stayed here, didn't he? The abbot bowed slightly toward me and said, Sir Joel's devotion is truly profound. I continued. Buddhism speaks of cause and effect, that all phenomena arise through karmic conditions. Then tell me, what is the price of my rebirth? You can be straightforward. How much longer do I have to live? Or how much longer does Joel have? The abbot paused briefly before replying. Madam is a blessed one. You shall live a long life and pass away peacefully. My heart sank. I tightened my grip around the teacup, forcing the words out of my throat. And Joel? The abbot only said, each person's fate is predestined in the unseen. Blessings and misfortunes are two sides of the same coin. Impermanence and selflessness govern this world. Those who cling to attachments will inevitably fall into suffering. Sometimes, ignorance is a kind of wisdom. I gave a bitter smile. If it were so easy to let go, Joel wouldn't have stayed here for so many years. Unable to move on, after bowing to the abbot in gratitude, I left the temple. Outside, Joel was waiting for me silently. Inside the temple was the boundless brilliance of Dharma. Outside the temple was the endless turmoil of worldly desires, greed, anger, obsession, and resentment. So long as there were attachments, Joel and I were destined never to have a perfect ending. I stepped forward and took Joel's hand. He smiled warmly at me and asked, Did you find out anything? I smiled back and said, Nothing much, just that, no matter where you go, I'll be right beside you. Joel shook my arm a little, half teasing, half spoiled. But what about Jessica? Oh right. I laughed. Then let's wait for Jessica to grow up first. And afterward, we can go wherever we want. Joel sighed dramatically. Ugh. How long are we going to have to wait?